Hi, I'm looking for...
Stadia?
The Google Stadia is considered by many to be a flop, but is it really? With a few changes, could it dethrone the console kings? Today, we're going to explore the Stadia in depth and talk about what changes Google would need to make in order to have a stronger foothold in the upcoming console wars. First and foremost, if you've heard about the Google Stadia but aren't sure what it is, here's a little breakdown. Stadia is an entirely cloud-based gaming service made by Google. Google aims to deliver gaming with 4K visuals at 60 frames per second solely through its Chrome web browser. It sounds crazy and futuristic, and honestly, it is. It just needs to work well in order to be really revolutionary. So here's the deal. Stadia was released in November of 2019. It costs $130 and comes with the Stadia controller, a Chromecast Ultra that supports 4K, and a 3-month free trial of the Pro subscription. The $10 Pro subscription allows you to use the service and stream games at 4K with HDR enabled. Pretty nice. It also offers a selection of games free of charge, similar to PlayStation Now and NVIDIA GeForce Now. Google has mentioned that they'll drop the $130 starting price sometime this year. And if you don't want the Pro subscription, you can still play games at 1080p 60 FPS. You still need to buy your games, of course, and you can play them on your Chromecast Ultra on the Chrome web browser and even supported Android phones. If you want to use your TV, the Chromecast Ultra and the 7D controller are required. The controller is pretty cool. It's a familiar blend of the PS4 and Xbox gamepad. It connects via Wi-Fi and allows for seamless switching between your phone and TV. If you're playing on a PC or a mobile device, you can use any Bluetooth gamepad or even a mouse and keyboard. Speaking of games, Stadia launched with some notable titles such as Final Fantasy XV, Destiny 2, and Red Dead Redemption 2, among others. Stadia promises to ramp up the game availability to ensure popular titles are available in the future. Yes, Cyberpunk 2077 and Baldur's Gate 3 are on that list. Calm down. As we mentioned earlier, you still need to actually purchase the games to play them. It's not like Netflix where you can pay a monthly fee and look through a catalog, but the cost of entry is significantly lower than building yourself a PC capable of 4K gameplay and still much cheaper than a 4K enabled console. You can even play on your phone wherever you have Wi-Fi, which is pretty amazing. Speaking of Wi-Fi, it's no surprise that you're going to need a good connection in order to have the best experience. Google recommends 35 megabits per second for the best results. If you're falling short of the 35 megabit threshold, Google will downscale to 1080p at 20 megabits or 720 at 10 megabits per second. Right now, the service only works over Wi-Fi, so even if you have LTE or 5G, you're out of luck, but more on that later. Since Google is an internet juggernaut, as well as the owners of YouTube, hello daddy YouTube, it's no surprise that they have fantastic sharing services. You can easily stream your gameplay to YouTube and viewers can instantly jump in and play with you, or if you're playing a single-player game, they can jump in and start playing the game themselves. Even just seeing an ad for a game can have you playing it in about 5 seconds. Man, that's fast. The best part of all of this is that you won't get bombarded with constant updates. Because it's a stream, it just starts. The most frustrating thing is wanting to play a game only to find out that you have a 45 gig download waiting. But with Stadia, that's a thing of the past. Before the Stadia launched, the hype was real. 4K 60 FPS gaming without the need for an expensive console or PC. The ability to stream right to your phone or laptop anywhere there's good Wi-Fi. Honestly, it kind of seems too good to be true. You probably see where I'm going with this, but at launch, the Stadia was largely considered a flop. While that's not entirely true, it's not false either, so let's dig a little bit deeper. First and foremost, the game selection was limited at launch, and the games you could play didn't really work the way they were advertised. Stadia launched with only 22 titles, all of which were already available on other consoles. Google promised to deliver more titles in 2020, but we haven't really seen a huge improvement so far. Developers have even gone on record saying that Google didn't offer enough money, and that they don't trust the mercurial company to stick with gaming in the long term, which isn't a good sign at all. In fact, as of March 1st, there are only 28 titles available on Stadia, and only 4 of the 28 are indie games. This further indicates that developers aren't interested in working with Google. Indie games are super important as they give life to the console and make it unique. If the Stadia wants to take on the likes of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, it's going to need to offer more than a worse version of what's already available. When you look at indie games like Untitled Duck Game, you see the importance of these hidden gems that can blow up. Stadia could really use that push to get people to switch from what they they already have. Their business model isn't anything to make you want to switch either. PlayStation and Nvidia seem to be offering more for less. For example, PlayStation Now and Nvidia GeForce Now allow you to pick any game from their collection at any time, but with the Stadia, free games are released regularly and you have to pay for the rest. On top of all that, Nvidia's GeForce Now is half the price. It seems like there are 3 costs you need to pay to be an early adopter of the Stadia: the initial fee for the controller and Chromecast Ultra, the Pro membership fee, and the full price value of the games. If you own a console or a PC, that's going to be incredibly difficult to see the value in. The latency and graphics might be the biggest detriment to the Stadia. Games aren't natively running at 4K. In fact, Bungie, the developer of Halo and Destiny 1 and 2, said, "When streaming at 4K, we render at a native 1080p and then upsample and apply a variety of techniques to increase the overall quality and effect," finishing off by saying that the game runs at around the equivalent of medium settings on PC. Now, not everyone is a pixel peeper, but that's still pretty far from the promises Google made. If you're not fussy about graphics, maybe you care more about performance, and in that regard, a lot of people are experiencing latency issues. An article from PC Gamer compared their PC to the Stadia and found that the response time was always 2 times slower or worse on the Stadia. In their test of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the response time from button press to action on screen was 63 milliseconds on their PC, while Stadia at 1080p via the Chromecast Ultra clocked in at 213 milliseconds. Not to mention, this test was done with 100 megabits down, which is 3 times the recommended internet speed. Thankfully, for single-player games like Tomb Raider, it's not a huge deal, but if you've ever played a multiplayer game like a fighter or first-person shooter, you know that 200 millisecond lag is not playable. Resolution will adjust on its own depending on the connection speed, so if you get a lag spike, you'll also likely be seeing a downscale from 4K to 1080p, along with some graphical artifacts. This kind of experience can really take away from the immersiveness of gaming, and more often than not, it'll just be downright frustrating. So does this all mean Stadia is doomed? Well, Google does have a track record of abandoning projects early, especially if they're not immediate hits, but we don't think all hope is lost. Yet. The truth is, Stadia can be a great thing for gaming if it works well. Their controller is great for its first iteration, but it's missing a lot of the functionality Google promised, and the same goes for the actual service. The price point, game selection, and performance are holding Stadia back in a very crucial period. While hiccups are to be expected, if there's one company that has the means to provide an incredible stream-based service, it's Google. Here are a few of our hot takes on what Google would need to do to turn Stadia around and prove to the critics that they can make a successful video game console. The most important thing for any video game console is, of course, the games. With such a small amount of indie titles and developers anonymously saying that it was not favorable to work with Google, this has got to be a #1 priority. Google has to get the developers excited about making games for them. Indie developers have some of the most popular and creative titles, and they're usually much less expensive than AAA titles. When excitement gathers around games, it can be hard not to want to jump in and join the action, which is exactly what Stadia needs. Alongside indie games, exclusives are even more important. Some people are married to the Xbox for the Halo series, while others can't fathom switching from PS4 and missing out on any of the Naughty Dog titles. Don't even get us started on Nintendo, the king of exclusivity. The amount of Stadia exclusives is disappointing, as they only have 10 timed exclusives planned for the first half of 2020. The tech and premise of Google Stadia are so awesome, but it's clearly not a wise investment if you're looking to play games. To make the investment more appealing, Google needs to bring the price down and the number of titles up. They've mentioned that the $130 entry fee is gonna be lowered, but that's a huge thorn in their paw right now. Since they're missing so much to entice gamers to begin with, they really need to make it affordable. Their best play would be to sell the Stadia at half price with a money-back guarantee, so players could experience the magic of seamlessly switching from their phone while they head to the bathroom, all without missing a single frame. The experience is what differentiates Stadia from the competition, and people need to get a taste of it before they could even consider paying $10 a month for a pro subscription. When and if people try out Stadia, the experience needs to be more in line with what Google is promising. Google promises 4K 60 FPS gaming, but with the inherent latency of cloud-based gaming, 60 FPS still feels sluggish. And no matter how you cut it, the 4K doesn't look like 4K. Their servers are powerful enough to provide high-fidelity graphics, but we're still seeing the equivalent of medium settings for these games. One thing that might help their cause is when people upgrade their network speed, but that's yet to be seen. Right now, the average network speed in America is around around 26 megabits per second, almost 10 megabits away from what Google recommends for 4K. With 5G just years away from being mainstream, it's possible we'll see a large overall improvement of network speeds. For now, though, Stadia is still a very cool concept, but sadly, the delivery leaves much to be desired. At TheGamer, we love games, and we really hope products like Stadia thrive so that even more people can enjoy gaming. When the next generation consoles come out, gamers will have a decision to make. If Google plays their cards right, they may have what it takes to be part of the conversation, but right now, even compared to what's currently available and taking into consideration that most gamers likely have a console or a PC, there's just no reason to buy in. When holiday 2020 comes around and all has been revealed about the next-gen consoles from Sony and Microsoft, is Stadia going to be on your radar? Have you even tried it already? We want your thoughts down in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to TheGamer for more gaming videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.